In the stillness of ancient nights, whispers of gods moved across the marble cities of Greece. Their voices carried through temples, through olive groves, and across the blue Aegean Sea. Among them was one who stood apart, calm yet unyielding, a guardian of thought and reason. She was Athena, born not from earth nor sea, but from the mind itself, radiant with clarity. Legends say she emerged fully formed, a vision of wisdom, a spark of eternal truth. No storm, no shadow, could silence the calm strength within her watchful gaze. The owl flew by her side, its eyes reflecting mysteries hidden from careless sight. Where others ruled with might, she offered the power of choice, of vision, of foresight. The city of Athens bore her name, not from conquest, but from the promise of peace. Her gift, the olive tree, whispered patience, endurance, and life itself. Yet Athena's story is not locked in stone, nor confined to temples of fading time. Her truth endures, flowing through centuries, waiting quietly for those who would listen. Tonight, we journey together into her tale, seeking the eternal wisdom she left behind. The world before Athena's birth was filled with silence, with shadows of thought unformed and waiting. The gods ruled the skies and seas, yet something deeper stirred within the heart of creation itself. Zeus, the father of gods, carried within him a secret, a spark of brilliance he did not yet understand. It was not thunder nor lightning, but a force of clarity pressing gently against his immortal mind. This was the seed of wisdom, unseen, unheard, but destined to shine brighter than any storm. The heavens grew restless, for even the stars felt the weight of an idea struggling to be born. Mount Olympus watched in stillness as the unseen power began to pulse like a hidden heartbeat. And then, as dawn breaks after endless night, Athena came forth, radiant, complete, eternal. She did not stumble nor cry, for she was not a child of flesh, but a child of thought. Her eyes were clear, reflecting not fear, but the calm brilliance of a mind awake at last. The gods gazed in awe, for never had they seen such a birth, so sudden and yet so perfect. Athena stood clothed in dignity, her form untouched by chaos, her presence both gentle and strong. The world seemed to pause, as if listening to the breath of wisdom newly released into time. No battle cry announced her, no trembling earth, only the silent certainty of truth unveiled. She was the embodiment of knowledge, the living symbol that thought itself could be divine. Her very existence taught that strength without wisdom was blind, and power without clarity was empty. The owl appeared at her side, not summoned, but drawn to the light she carried within. Its wings spread wide, and its gaze mirrored hers, piercing through shadow, seeking what lay hidden. Together they became a sign, a bond between the mortal and the eternal, vision and reason. For in Athena's birth lay not just a goddess, but the awakening of human thought itself. Mortals would tell the tale as mystery, but within it lay the truth of their own becoming. The mind was no longer silent, no longer lost, but now a tool to shape and to see. Athena did not come with fire or flood, but with a quiet promise of clarity and order. She carried no chain, no burden, for her gift was freedom, the freedom of knowing, of choice. The gods welcomed her, yet knew she was different, a mirror not of might, but of meaning. Her presence reminded them that even eternity could learn, could grow, could hold truth within silence. The olive tree bent in the wind, as if bowing to the wisdom that had entered the world. Its branches whispered of peace, its roots spoke of endurance. Its fruit promised life everlasting. Athena's birth was more than a moment. It was the dawn of thought across every horizon. Each mountain, each river, seemed to echo her truth, carrying it onward through ages to come. She was not born to rule alone, but to guide, to whisper, to remind when pride grew heavy. Her name would live in temples, in stories, in the hearts of those who sought more than power. And yet, her truest temple was not of stone, but in the mind of every seeker of wisdom. For from the head of Zeus came not only a goddess, but a mirror of our own eternal truth. Athena was, and is, the birth of thought itself, and in her gaze we still find clarity. The city that would one day be called Athens was once a land of promise, waiting for its guardian. Mountains surrounded it like sentinels. Rivers traced silver lines, and olive groves whispered in the wind. The people thrived on the soil, yet they sought more than survival. They sought meaning and protection. The gods looked down, each desiring to offer a gift, each wishing to claim the city as theirs. Among them stood Poseidon, lord of the sea, strong, proud, and eager to mark his power. He raised his trident high, and from the rocks sprang a fountain of salt water, wild and loud. The water roared with the promise of ships, of conquest, of far journeys across endless horizons. Yet the people hesitated, for the sea was mighty but restless, its waves both gift and danger. Then Athena stepped forward, her gaze calm, her voice carrying the weight of unseen wisdom. She bent down, touched the earth, and from her hand grew the first olive tree. Its roots gripped the soil, its branches stretched upward, and its leaves shimmered with silver light. The people watched in silence, for this gift was not a weapon, but a promise of life. The olive tree gave fruit to nourish, oil to heal and light, wood to build and endure. It offered peace, patience, and resilience, gifts deeper than the fleeting roar of the sea. The gods murmured, each weighing the meaning. For Athena's gift spoke of harmony, not power. The people knelt before the tree, touching its branches, feeling in its shade the breath of hope. They turned to Athena, not with fear, but with trust, for her gift met the needs of life. Zeus himself declared the city hers, and its name was given, Athens, beloved of wisdom. Poseidon's waves still crashed against the shore, but the olive tree stood unshaken in the wind. It grew tall, its roots deep, its leaves eternal, a reminder of the choice made that day. Athena did not boast, for her truth was not in conquest, but in the quiet endurance of peace. The people learned to weave olive branches into crowns, symbols of honor, balance, and sacred unity. They pressed the fruit into oil, a flame that burned in temples, gentle yet everlasting. Each harvest became a hymn, each drop of oil a prayer to the goddess of wisdom. And so the city thrived, not through the clash of waves, but through the strength of the tree. Athens rose as a beacon of thought, of art, of reason, of the eternal light of learning. The olive tree became its heart, standing on the Acropolis, rooted in earth yet touched by sky. Travelers came from afar, and they saw not walls alone, but the living gift of a goddess. They carried stories of a city that chose wisdom, and a people guided by patience and foresight. Athena's presence lingered in every leaf, in every branch, in every shadow cast upon the stones. The city bore her name proudly, for it was not conquered, but blessed with her eternal truth. The contest was remembered not as rivalry, but as the moment wisdom triumphed over pride. The fountain of Poseidon faded into memory, but the olive tree grew eternal, green through ages. And so the story of Athens began, not with war, but with the gentle roots of peace. Athena watched in silence, her eyes upon the city. her truth alive in every breath of wind. The night sky stretched above Athens, calm and endless, its stars glimmering like watchful eyes of eternity. Among those lights, a deeper presence stirred, for Athena's companion had already taken its place beside her. The owl, small in form yet vast in meaning, carried the wisdom of silence within its steady gaze. It did not shout, nor boast, nor roar like the lion, but spoke through patience and quiet knowing. Athena chose the owl not for its strength, but for its vision that pierced beyond darkness and illusion. The bird flew silently across the Acropolis, its wings brushing the air with the weight of mysteries. Its eyes glowed in the moonlight, two orbs that reflected truths unseen by hurried hearts and restless minds. The people soon learned to watch the owl, for where it rested, wisdom seemed to settle gently too. Farmers believed its presence blessed the harvest, guiding their hands with care instead of reckless haste. Sailors, before leaving the port, looked for the owl above the temples, praying for clear thought and foresight. Children grew hearing its call in the night, a reminder that learning never ends, even in dreams. The owl became a mirror of Athena's gift, to see clearly when all else is clouded by shadow. It taught that wisdom does not always come with noise, but often arrives in stillness and quiet observation. Athena herself walked the city, yet it was often the owl that carried her lessons into mortal lives. One story tells of a poet who wandered, lost in thought, searching for words beyond his grasp. He paused by the olive tree, and above him perched the owl, watching, patient, unblinking. The poet followed its gaze toward the stars, and there he found verses flowing like a hidden river. Another tale tells of a young girl who feared the night, trembling at shadows on her walls. The owl appeared at her window, and in its steady eyes she found calm and silent courage. Thus, Athena's wisdom spread not only through temples and laws, but through the quiet presence of her guide. The owl was not a pet nor a servant, but a partner in truth, bound by timeless purpose. It symbolized awareness, the power to notice what others miss, the strength to listen before speaking. In its gaze lay a reminder that knowledge is more than memory. It is the art of seeing. The people began to carve its image on coins, on pottery, on walls, carrying its meaning everywhere. An owl stamped on silver spoke louder than gold, for it told the world, "Here dwells the city of wisdom." Athena's temple, the Parthenon, shone with offerings. Yet always the owl remained at her side, watchful. Even in myths told beyond Greece, the owl remained, carrying the flame of clarity to distant lands. Travelers spoke of it in far-off markets, saying, "The Greeks have a goddess whose eyes never sleep." But they meant not only Athena's eyes, but those of her companion, the bird of eternal watch. Generations passed, yet the owl endured, teaching each era that vision is more precious than strength. It reminded leaders to think before they act, and artists to see beyond the surface of things. Athena's wisdom was vast, yet in the owl it found a vessel simple enough for all to grasp. The bird's silence became a song, a hymn without words, teaching patience to those willing to listen. And so, the owl remained on the Acropolis, in stories, in hearts, forever bound to the goddess of wisdom. Its wings carried no armies, its claws no weapons. Yet in its gaze lived the eternal truth of Athena. In the heart of Athens, beneath the bright sun, the rhythm of daily life carried whispers of creation. Athena was not only a goddess of wisdom and war, but also the guardian of craft and skill. She taught mortals that the hand, guided by thought, could shape beauty and meaning from simple thread. Her gift was the loom, a tool of patience and harmony, weaving order from strands of chaos. The first weavers looked to her with reverence, their fingers trembling as they followed her divine example. Athena showed that weaving was not just labor, but storytelling written in cloth and color. Each thread carried a message, each pattern told of seasons, of gods, of the spirit of life. The loom became a symbol of balance, where discipline and imagination met beneath the guiding hand. In her temple, women offered woven cloths, not as tribute, but as living prayers to their goddess. The Parthenon itself was adorned with fabrics crafted in her honor, glowing with sacred patterns of devotion. Through weaving, Athena taught the city that creation was a mirror of the soul's quiet strength. She reminded them that true beauty was born not in haste, but in patience and careful design. There was once a young woman who struggled with her loom, her threads tangled, her spirit restless. She prayed for guidance, and in a dream, Athena appeared, calm and radiant, her eyes gentle. The goddess did not scold, but placed her hand upon the girl's and showed her the way. "See," she whispered, "the thread is like thought. It must move with purpose, not in confusion." The girl woke with clarity, her hand steady, and soon her cloth shone with patterns of harmony. Word spread, and others came to see, and in their awe they felt Athena's presence in her work. It was never the cloth alone, but the care within it that carried the goddess's blessing. Athena's loom became a lesson beyond fabric, a symbol of order, discipline, and creative truth. To weave was to live with intention, to align the heart with the pattern of the world. Even men, though they fought wars and built ships, came to respect the loom's quiet wisdom. They saw in its threads the same lessons of strategy, of patience, of balance in every plan. Weaving was not small work, but sacred, for in every thread lay the story of a people. Athena knew this truth, and so she gave her craft not as command, but as gentle guidance. The olive tree gave wood for the looms, its branches once again tied to the goddess's gift. Thus, tree and loom together became symbols of life, shaped with care, patience, and divine wisdom. Generations passed, yet the craft endured, mothers teaching daughters, masters guiding apprentices in silent halls. Patterns grew more intricate, threads more colorful, but the essence remained, the pursuit of harmony and meaning. Travelers marveled not only at Athens' walls and temples, but also at its woven cloths of beauty. They carried them across seas, spreading stories of a city blessed by a goddess of wisdom. The loom was no less powerful than the sword, for it bound people with identity and tradition. Athena's truth shone quietly in every garment, in every fabric that wrapped the body and the spirit. Her lesson was simple, yet eternal, that creation is sacred when born from patience and purpose. And so, in every thread woven beneath her watch, the eternal truth of Athena continued to shine. The agora of Athens buzzed with voices, each echoing the heartbeat of a city guided by wisdom. Merchants displayed goods from distant lands, their stalls shimmering with colors, textures, and scents of the world. Farmers brought olives, grains, and honey, offerings of the earth nurtured beneath Athena's watchful gaze. Philosophers gathered in corners, their words weaving patterns as intricate as threads upon a loom. They debated justice, virtue, and the soul, their minds searching for truths as eternal as the stars. In this place, thought and trade danced together, giving Athens its pulse, its rhythm, its essence. Athena's presence was felt not in statues alone, but in the clarity of reason that filled the air. The people believed wisdom was not distant, but alive, living through every question asked in the square. One morning, A young man arrived, carrying nothing but a scroll and a restless fire in his eyes. He listened to the philosophers, then dared to speak, his voice steady, yet humble with respect. "Is truth bound by the gods?" he asked. "Or does truth exist even beyond their eternal thrones?" The crowd grew silent, for this was no small question, but one that stirred the foundations of belief. Some frowned, fearing impiety, yet others leaned closer, drawn to the boldness of his thought. Athena, watching from her unseen throne, smiled, for she cherished minds that dared to question deeply. Truth, to her, was not chains, but wings, guiding mortals toward understanding beyond the visible. The philosophers debated the young man's words, each argument a new thread in the tapestry of thought. Some said truth belonged only to Olympus, woven by the gods into the fabric of existence. Others claimed truth was older, a law that even gods themselves could not change or escape. The discussion grew, voices rising not in anger, but in passion, like waves breaking upon the shore. The young man listened, his heart swelling, for in this dialogue he felt the spirit of Athena. He understood that wisdom was not answers handed down, but the courage to seek and to wonder. As the sun lowered, casting golden light upon the marble, the crowd dispersed, but minds remained alive. The question lingered in the air, carried on the wind, echoing in hearts long after words had ceased. Athena's gift was not the answer, but the spark, the fire that urged mortals to seek meaning. She whispered in their minds, gentle yet clear, "Truth is not given, it is discovered." That night, the young man walked alone, his scroll clutched tightly, his spirit burning with possibility. He realized that in searching, he honored the goddess more deeply than through offerings or prayers. The stars above seemed brighter, as if nodding in approval, ancient witnesses to mortal curiosity. Athena's owl flew silently across the night sky, its wings a symbol of clarity and darkness. It perched nearby, watching him, as if to remind him that he was not alone in his search. The city slept, yet within its quiet streets, the seeds of thought continued to grow in silence. Athena's truth was not loud nor forceful, but subtle, guiding hearts toward understanding with steady patience. In every debate, in every question, in every spark of wonder, her eternal wisdom found its voice. The agora would wake again, filled with trade, laughter, and talk. But the question would remain. And in that question lay a gift greater than gold or glory, the eternal pursuit of truth. For Athena knew that wisdom was not a treasure to be hoarded, but a light to be shared. And so, the young man's words joined the countless echoes of Athens, a city alive with thought. Through him, through them, through all who sought meaning, the eternal truth of Athena continued to shine. Beneath the shadow of the Acropolis, Athens grew restless, for the city faced challenges that tested its soul. Rival states cast jealous eyes on its prosperity, whispering threats carried across seas and valleys. The people feared war, yet also clung to hope, for Athena's wisdom had guided them through storms before. In council halls, leaders gathered, voices rising like waves, each carrying visions of how to protect the city. Some urged swords, others demanded alliances, while a few counseled patience, trusting in time's quiet hand. The debates burned bright, but beneath the noise lay a deeper fear, the fragility of peace. Athena listened, unseen yet present, her gaze steady, her mind as sharp as the owl's flight. She knew that true defense was not only built on walls or weapons, but on wisdom and unity. One night, an elder spoke, his voice worn but strong, carrying the weight of memory. Strength is fleeting, he said, but wisdom endures. A city divided cannot stand, no matter its arms. The words stirred the room, settling over the crowd like evening mist, soft but undeniable. Athena's spirit moved through those words, reminding them that truth often comes from humility, not pride. The leaders fell into silence, then began to see beyond fear, beyond ego, into the heart of Athens. They realized their strength was not just in warriors, but in the minds and unity of their people. A decision was made, not of conquest, but of balance, weaving strategy with patience, strength with wisdom. Messengers were sent to neighbors, not with threats, but with words of reason and offers of peace. Athena smiled, for this was her way, a path that valued foresight over fury, wisdom over impulse. The people prepared nonetheless, not in panic but in discipline, training hearts as much as hands. Athena's owl was seen above the city, its wings silent, a sign of watchfulness and calm. Mothers whispered prayers at night. Fathers taught stories of resilience. Children listened with wide, hopeful eyes. Even in uncertainty, the city found steadiness, for belief in Athena was a shield of its own. One young boy asked his father, "Why do we not strike first?" And the father answered with care, "Because true strength," he said, "is knowing when to fight and when to choose the harder path." The boy nodded, his heart carrying that seed of wisdom into the dawn of his life. As days passed, threats did not vanish, but the city stood calm, its spirit unbroken, its heart united. The world beyond Athens saw not weakness, but resilience, not fear, but a city guided by wisdom. It was said that ambassadors returned home marveling. Athens does not fight with swords alone, but with truth. Athena's eternal truth lived not in battles won, but in the choices that shaped lasting peace. For she knew that wisdom was the greatest defense, stronger than bronze, sharper than any blade. And in every cautious step, every measured word, her spirit wove strength into the city's destiny. The people slept under her quiet protection, trusting not in walls, but in the wisdom they shared. In this way, Athens learned again that the eternal truth of Athena was not conquest, but harmony. And as the moon rose above the Acropolis, her presence lingered, silent yet strong, guiding them forward. At dawn, the streets of Athens stirred with quiet life, the marble glowing soft beneath the rising sun. Children carried water from fountains, their laughter mingling with the rhythm of footsteps and morning prayers. Merchants arranged baskets of olives and figs, their voices greeting neighbors as the day stretched wide. Among them walked poets, dreamers with ink-stained hands and scrolls tucked close against their chests. Athena loved these mortals, for they shaped not with stone or loom, but with words and imagination. To them, the city was more than walls and markets. It was a canvas painted by thought. One young poet sat by the fountain, staring at the rippling water, his mind restless and alive. He whispered verses to himself, but none seemed worthy. None carried the depth he longed to share. He prayed silently, not for fame, but for clarity, for words that could capture the heart of truth. That night, Athena appeared in his dream, not as a warrior, but as a calm, guiding presence. Her voice was soft yet unshakable, like a thread weaving through silence with purpose and strength. Words, she told him, are not ornaments. They are bridges, carrying the soul from one heart to another. The poet woke before dawn, the goddess's words glowing in his memory like embers in the dark. He rushed to his scroll and began to write, his hand steady, his spirit suddenly clear and focused. Each line flowed with honesty, with depth, with the wisdom Athena had planted in his heart. When he read his verses aloud in the agora, the people stopped, their hearts stirred by his voice. It was not grandeur that moved them, but the simple truth shining within every syllable he spoke. A mother wept quietly. A merchant paused mid-trade. A child leaned closer, their souls touched by words. The city felt alive with meaning, as if Athena herself had breathed through the poet's fragile voice. From that day, poetry became not only art, but also a vessel for wisdom, truth, and shared memory. Athens was no longer just stone and law, but also a living chorus of stories shaped by mortals. Every festival honored not only gods with offerings, but poets with recitals that echoed through the streets. Athena watched with pride, for her truth was alive not only in temples, but in human imagination. The young poet grew older, but his verses lived on, passed from lips to lips, heart to heart. Children memorized his words as lessons. Elders recited them as guidance. Travelers carried them far and wide. Through his poetry, Athens shone brighter. Its wisdom carried beyond walls, beyond seas, into unknown lands. It was said that even foreign kings paused to listen when his verses reached their courts. His words did not command armies, yet they shaped minds, and in shaping minds, they shaped futures. Athena's eternal truth revealed itself here, that wisdom thrives not only in battles, but in stories. For stories hold memory, teach patience, and give light when shadows fall across the human spirit. One evening, the poet stood beneath the Acropolis, looking at the sky glowing with endless stars. He whispered to himself, "It is not my voice that matters, but the truth that passes through me." The owl of Athena glided overhead, silent and knowing, as if blessing his humble reflection. Athens that night felt timeless, a city where stone, spirit, and story wove together into harmony. And so, through verse, through voice, through hearts awakened by poetry, Athena's truth continued to shine. On the edge of the city, where the olive grove stretched wide, the farmers rose with the dawn. Their hands were rough, their backs bent, yet their spirits carried the quiet dignity of steady labor. For Athena had given them the olive tree, a gift of life, endurance, and unbroken promise. The groves whispered in the morning breeze, leaves shimmering like silver, roots gripping deep into the earth. Each tree was a reminder of the goddess's wisdom, her gift that bound the city to survival. Olive oil was more than food, more than flame. It was a symbol of peace, prosperity, and resilience. The farmers tended each branch with reverence, knowing that care for the tree was care for Athens. One old farmer often told his children, "To honor the tree is to honor Athena herself." He showed them how to prune with patience, how to harvest without greed, how to respect the earth. The children listened, their eyes bright, understanding that farming was not toil alone, but a sacred bond. Athena watched from above, her presence felt in every leaf, in every whisper of the olive groves. She knew that the strength of Athens did not rest only in marble or bronze, but in soil. For wisdom is not only found in scrolls or debates, but in the humility of honest labor. One season, a drought came, the sky withholding rain, the earth cracking, the farmers' hearts growing heavy. The groves withered, olives shrank, and fear spread that Athena's gift might be slipping from their grasp. The old farmer gathered his children beneath the shade of the largest tree, its bark worn and strong. He placed his hands upon the trunk and whispered, "Do not despair. The goddess does not abandon us." That night, he dreamt of Athena, her eyes steady, her hand resting upon the olive branch. She spoke softly. Endure as the tree endures. Roots hold strong even when leaves falter in the sun. He woke with resolve and taught his children to water with care, to ration wisely, to work together. Neighbors shared what little they had, carrying water in jars, praying silently as they walked the parched soil. Days stretched into weeks, yet the trees, though weary, clung to life, their roots unyielding beneath the ground. At last, the rains returned, soft and steady, blessing the earth, reviving the groves with shimmering green. The farmers rejoiced, tears mingling with laughter as the trees bore fruit once more, abundant and golden. They understood Athena's lesson, that true strength lies not in ease, but in patience through hardship. The harvest that year was celebrated with songs, offerings, and dances beneath the olive branches. Children carried garlands of leaves. Women pressed oil with reverence. Men gave thanks in silent prayer. Athena's eternal truth shone clear, that resilience is sacred, that life flourishes when nurtured with faith. Travelers who passed through Athens carried tales of its groves, its oil, its wisdom of endurance. And so the olive tree stood as more than food or flame. It became the very spirit of Athens. It whispered through generations that the goddess was near, not in storms or battles, but in roots. For in every leaf, in every fruit, in every drop of oil, her eternal truth glowed quietly. And the people, through labor, through patience, through faith, carried Athena's wisdom in their daily lives. The groves endured, the city endured, and through them, the eternal truth of Athena continued to shine. In the heart of Athens, beyond the groves and the busy markets, stood the great temple of Athena. The Parthenon, with its marble columns, rose like a crown above the city, gleaming in the sun. Every stone, every carving, told a story of devotion, a promise of honor to the goddess of wisdom. Pilgrims climbed the steps with reverence, their hands carrying offerings, their voices hushed in awe. Inside, the statue of Athena stood tall, golden and bright, her gaze steady, her presence unshaken. She held a shield and spear, yet her expression was calm, a guardian of peace, not war. The flicker of oil lamps cast dancing shadows upon the walls, as if the goddess herself breathed. Priests and priestesses moved softly, their rituals measured, their prayers rising like incense to the heavens. They asked not for victory alone, but for wisdom, justice, and the strength of enduring unity. For Athena was not a goddess of destruction, but of balance, thought, and the pursuit of truth. On festival days, the city came alive. Streets filled with music, laughter, and the rhythm of drums. Garlands of olive leaves decorated the gates, and processions wound their way toward the shining Parthenon. Children walked beside elders, carrying baskets of fruit, jars of oil, and woven cloth for offering. The Panathenaic festival was not merely a celebration, but a living bond between people and goddess. Athena's name was sung in hymns, her wisdom praised in stories shared around fires into the night. Foreign visitors marveled at the sight, whispering of Athens, the city of light, reason, and resilience. To them, the temple was not just stone and art, but a beacon of a higher way of life. They carried tales of the goddess beyond the seas, spreading her truth to lands far and wide. But within Athens, the Parthenon was more than glory. It was a reminder of humility and duty. For the people knew that Athena's gaze did not rest only on rulers, but upon every citizen. A weaver at her loom, a child learning letters, a farmer tending trees, all lived within her care. One young girl, gazing at the temple, asked her father, "Why does Athena watch over us?" Her father smiled gently and replied, "Because she believes wisdom belongs not to kings, but to all." That night, as the stars shone above the temple, the city seemed to breathe with quiet peace. The marble gleamed silver under the moon, a silent promise that Athena's truth was eternal. And though centuries would pass, storms would rage, and empires would rise and fall, the Parthenon endured. Its stones whispered still of devotion, its columns carried the weight of memory, its spirit unbroken. Athena's presence lingered there, not in voice or form, but in the unyielding strength of an idea. That wisdom is sacred, that unity is strength, that peace is a victory greater than any battle. The people of Athens carried this truth, shaping laws, shaping art, shaping life with reason and grace. Travelers returned home, changed by what they had seen, carrying with them the light of Athena's city. And so the Parthenon stood, not as a relic, but as a living story, a song carved in stone. Each prayer, each offering, each festival wove another thread into the endless tapestry of Athena's truth. For wisdom, once given, cannot be lost. It lives in temples, in people, in hearts that choose it. And in Athens, under the gaze of the goddess, that wisdom continued to guide the destiny of men. Far from the marble temples, Athens thrived in its schools, where wisdom flowed like rivers of thought. The agora was not only a market of goods, but a marketplace of ideas, alive with debate and reason. Men and women gathered in shaded corners, sharing stories, questions, and lessons drawn from daily life. Children learned letters on clay tablets, tracing lines with care, guided by teachers who spoke of virtue. They were told that knowledge was not power alone, but a lantern that revealed the path of justice. Athena's spirit was present here, not in statues of gold, but in every question asked with courage. For she was the goddess of wisdom, and her temple was as much the mind as the stone. In quiet halls, philosophers spoke, their voices weaving ideas that reached far beyond the city walls. Socrates walked among the people, asking questions that stirred thought, breaking silence with gentle persistence. Plato listened, crafting visions of justice, truth, and the hidden forms that shape the world unseen. Aristotle observed the patterns of nature, the motion of stars, the logic of the human heart. Each thinker, though different in voice, carried Athena's torch, seeking clarity in the tangled threads of life. The people of Athens were taught that wisdom began with humility, with knowing how little one knew. A child's question could be as mighty as a ruler's decree, for truth bowed to no authority. Athena's eternal truth was clear. Wisdom was not reserved for the few, but a gift for all. One story tells of a boy who asked his teacher why the owl flew with Athena at night. The teacher smiled and said, "Because wisdom does not fear the dark. It finds light where none shines." The boy carried those words through his life, remembering that courage was born from knowledge and clarity. In Athens, every street carried echoes of thought, every home lit by the quiet flame of reason. Even artisans and builders, shaping stone or wood, worked with wisdom, guided by harmony and proportion. The Parthenon itself was not merely built, but designed with care, a blend of beauty and balance. Mathematics, music, and philosophy danced together, forming the rhythm of a city led by thought. Travelers who came to Athens marveled at this, a place where ideas were valued as much as gold. They carried those lessons away, planting seeds of reason in distant lands, in distant hearts. Athena's presence was felt not in thunder or storm, but in the stillness of a question well asked. Her truth was alive in the courage to think, to doubt, to imagine a better way of living. Athenians believed that a wise city was a strong city, one that could endure storms of time. For armies may conquer and wealth may fade, but ideas endure, shaping the world across generations. And so, beneath the olive groves and marble temples, Athens grew as a garden of the mind. The owl flew silently through its night skies, carrying the whispers of thought to those who listened. Athena's eternal truth glowed quietly, that the greatest temple was built not of stone, but of wisdom. Each child who learned, each thinker who spoke, each citizen who questioned, kept her gift alive. The city breathed with it, the people walked with it, and the world was changed because of it. And though centuries would pass, the light of Athens burned on, steady, radiant, and eternal. The story of Athena does not end in marble, nor in the fading voices of ancient hymns. Her truth lingers quietly, flowing like a stream that refuses to dry, finding new paths through time. Though temples crumble and statues weather, wisdom does not fade, for it lives in hearts that remember. Athena's eternal truth is not bound to Greece alone, but to every soul who seeks clarity. The owl still flies in silence, not only over olive groves, but through libraries, schools, and mine. Its wings brush the shoulders of those who question, who listen, who dare to seek beyond the surface. For wisdom is not a relic, but a living flame, handed from one generation to the next. Athens taught the world that knowledge is strength, that peace is greater than war, that thought endures. And Athena's gift was not just the olive tree or the Parthenon, but the courage to think freely. Even today, when night falls over quiet cities, her presence whispers in the stillness of thought. A student reading by lamplight, a teacher guiding gently, a child asking why, all carry her truth. She is not gone, for gods of wisdom do not die. They live wherever curiosity takes root. The eternal truth of Athena is that wisdom is not power for the few, but light for the many. It guides not by command, but by inspiration, calling humanity to rise above shadow and folly. She reminds us that endurance, like the olive tree, grows not in haste, but in patient strength. That justice, like clear water, must be guarded from corruption and cherished in its purity. That peace, though fragile, is the greatest shield a city or a people can hold. And so, when we speak of Athena, we speak not only of myth, but of a living ideal. She is present in the ink of books, in the voice of truth, in the silence of thought. Her wisdom asks us to build temples not of stone, but of understanding, compassion, and vision. For every question asked with sincerity, every lesson learned with humility, is an offering to her. Every act of fairness, every choice of patience over anger, keeps her flame alive in the world. The Parthenon stands in ruins, yet its spirit breathes, a reminder that truth outlasts stone. The olive groves still grow, whispering resilience, reminding us that roots hold strong in every storm. The owl still watches, eyes steady, guiding the seeker through darkness toward the dawn of reason. Athena's story is not the past, it is the present, the choice we carry in every moment. It is the courage to ask, the wisdom to listen, the strength to endure, the will to seek peace. And so we end, not with silence, but with a reminder that her light is not distant. It is here, now, in us, waiting to be kindled, waiting to guide us toward a better way. For the eternal truth of Athena is this, that wisdom is not a gift to be kept, but shared. And as long as humanity remembers to seek, to question, to learn, her truth will never fade. So let us carry her story, not as myth, but as compass, guiding us toward the light of wisdom. For in every heart that chooses truth over fear, the eternal goddess walks quietly beside us still.